welcome to Tea and Games. The tea this morning is Lapsang Souchang from Tea Runners, and I will put a link down below. As you may have guessed from the hat and the long sleeves, fall has finally fallen here, or at least for a little while. It kind of comes and goes, but right now we are actually having cool weather. Cool enough that I can wear a hat to cover the bad hair day. And I can wear the new long sleeve shirt that I got from Second Star to the Left, who are one of my favorite content creators. Also got a mug from them that I showed in the previous video when it was still in the temperatures were still in the 80s. But they have a lot of different designs and slogans across here. Open tables, open minds, play your shelves, be kind, and Second Star to the Left, the name of the channel. And a lot of different colors and styles. So I found something I liked. And I'll put a link or a tag to them also down below. Let's see. We're going to start off with some short stuff, some short fun stuff. Kind of board game adjacent, I guess you might say. A while back, I joined a social network for board gamers. Yes, that's a thing, or at least it's a thing now. The wonderful people who are behind Girls Who Love Board Games, which is a great Facebook group, the only one I really participate in. They created a global social network for board gamers. The idea behind it, and the name of it, is MatchNgame, M-A-T-C-H, capital N-G-A-M-E. MatchNgame. The idea behind it is that you can put in, your location. You can put in a location and the board games that you like and your favorite board game mechanics and stuff like that, and find board gamers who like the same kind of stuff that you do in your area. Of course, being small and global, that means that coverage is a little spotty, but it's new, so until it really gets big, it's functioning very much like a regular, wonderful social network, only it's for board gamers. There are posts and polls and pics and people talking about board games. And it really is quite a nice community that's developing there. And I encourage you to check it out. Also, speaking of community, I have a community tab here on YouTube. I don't quite know how I managed to unlock it, but apparently I did. And what I do there is I post pics and posts and polls and stuff between videos. Basically, it kind of functions like my old Facebook profile thing did when I would just bomb my friends with board game stuff over the weekend. So there's a little overlap. Right now there's a little overlap between that and MatchNgame because the community tab has not really taken off yet. And that's got just like a lot of stuff in it, more so than the videos. So I encourage you to always check your subscription feed for stuff that maybe have been posted in the community tab, or just click on over and look at the community tab. Right now there is a poll on the community tab for digital board games, like where do you play? Do you play? Do you only play on tabletop? Do you play with individual game apps or on Board Game Arena? And like the community tab here is dead. Folks, please do something about that. Go play on my community tab. But I also posted the poll on MatchNgame, and the post kind of blew up there, and I got a lot of responses, both comments and poll responses. So I went ahead yesterday and joined Board Game Arena based upon the encouragement that I got there. And but do go ahead and answer the poll in the community tab here. That would still be helpful and useful, and I need the activity on the community tab. It's basically, from my point of view, the community tab is the most active part of my YouTube channel because I post there more often than I can sit down in front of a camera and do videos. But from the point of view of other users, the videos are the most active part of my channel, and nobody goes and plays on my community tab. But I did join Board Game Arena. I have not played any games on it yet, so I will have to report back to you on how it goes. One of the things that intrigued me about it and made me decide to go ahead and join is that you can play turn-based games and have a bunch of different games going at one time with different people and being turn-based. I mean, it takes a long time to finish a game, I would imagine, depending upon what game you're playing. And you can set how frequently turns are taken, like once a day, twice a day, something like that. So I think that turn-based would actually be something that can fit into anyone's life, and be able to try out some new games. I think that would be a good way for me to try out games and to learn games and see if it's something that I want to buy before actually buying it. Which brings me to the Unplayed Game Shelf. We took a look at it again this past weekend, and we have got 9 games that we bought this year that have not yet been played. 5 of them, including one we bought this weekend, 5 of them can be played with 2 players. 4 of them need more than 2 players. But we are going to try to knock off the 5 games that can be played with 2 between now and the end of the year. So that way, even though we did not play all of the games on our Unplayed Games Shelf, we will have done then a decent job of keeping up with playing games as they come in, as well as playing some games from our backlist of games. Trick is not to buy them faster than you play them. We also culled a couple of games this weekend. Sad, we culled games. Yeah, I know, some people don't do that. They just collect them. But I kind of like to play games, and if I'm not playing the games, then they need to leave to make room for new games that I will play. And we don't have a big board game collection. Right now, it's still under 100 games, which is like just a fraction of what most board gamers have. But we only play on weekends, and we're casual board gamers, you know? And I mean, cut us some slack on being casual board gamers and only playing on weekends and having a modest board game collection, and we actually get rid of games. But no, the 2 games that we got rid of are 2 games that we have never played. For a while, a few years back, I had a board game subscription, and most of the games I got there were really, really good games. And I think actually these 2 games are probably good games too, but they were not a good fit for us. One was Periodic, which I never took out of shrink wrap. And I didn't like the other choices of games that month in the subscription service, so this was definitely the best choice. And I like the idea of a science-y game, but we've had this game for years now, and I kind of looked at it and I thought, but the problem is, though I really like the idea of science-y games, I just don't have any interest in playing a game about the periodic table of elements. And I mean, I'm sure it's just a fine, fun game, and it may be educational, but it's like, when would I want to play this? And the answer is never. So we got rid of it. And the other game we culled is Detective Season 1. I chose that game out of the selections that month because I wanted to try one of these mystery deduction games because my husband and I both like mysteries and reading mysteries, watching mysteries, mystery things. But, you know, it's like we opened up the box and we laid it all out on the table and we read the instructions and then we packed it back up. And we did this like about 3 times now. And I think really the stumbling block for us is that neither one of us are really all that keen on the fact that you've got to go to a website and log into a database. You know, it's like, I don't know, some weird unknown scuzzy database somewhere. And I mean, I'm sure it's fine. And if it had been an app, I would have just downloaded the app and used the app. But because you have to go to a website, for some reason, that just felt sketchy to both of us. Even though this is a well-known game and a well-known game designer, it was very off-putting. And maybe this says something just about us. Certainly, I don't think that it reflects badly on the game, but we just, like I said, we keep taking it out and thinking, we really should do this. And then we just kind of look at it and say, but I really don't want to. I don't want to mess with that website database thing. So we just decided that we do still want to try a mystery deduction solving crime kind of game, but it's not going to be that one. So we sold both of those on. I'm sure they will find good homes with people who will love them. And the thing about the detective game is it was going to be sold on eventually sooner or later because those things aren't replayable. You know, it's like you've got X number of scenarios, mysteries in a box, and you solve those mysteries, and you then know who done it, and you don't solve any more mysteries from that box. So those two are gone. We are now done with all of the short stuff. Although I do want to say something. If you are a fan of Carcassonne, stick around because we played an interesting expansion, and I will get to that a bit later in the video. First of all, I want to remind you right here early in the video to like, subscribe, click the little bell icon for notifications of those subscriptions. Like when I put on a new video, you won't get notified for stuff in the community tab, but it should show up in your subscription feed. Like, subscribe. I'm looking at my notes. Oh yeah, participate, comment. I mean, I'm just kind of hanging out here having fun, talking about board games, and I just kind of like to hang out with you and have fun and talk about board games. And that's really what I'm doing over on the social network MatchNgame. And I'd like to do it here too on YouTube. Right now, there's a little bit of overlap between YouTube and MatchNgame because the YouTube interaction thing is not really happening. Make it happen, folks. So, moving on. Today, we're going to talk about some seasonal games. Oh, wait. Well, this is a seasonal game. Yeah, okay. One small thing. We went to our friendly local game store last week, I guess it was probably about a week ago, and just had a pickup game of a game that I got my husband for his birthday that we hadn't played because it takes 3 players minimum. This is basically a party game. It's called B-Movies. Check this out. It looks like a videotape. See? Remember old style videotapes? How cool is that? And you make cheesy B movies, and you get rewarded with, I don't know if you can see through the plastic bag, popcorn. Yes, popcorn. And it's basically a card game where you've got a hand of cards, and they've all got elements of cheesy B movies, mostly sci-fi, but some just cheesy. And you choose some from your hand, and you string them together to make a title. Okay, yeah, like the Giant Werewolf in the Forest. That's actually not a good example. We've got Weird Disappearance on this card. You have some generic elements because you always have to have victims for these things, like the family. You have viruses, and we all know how scary they are. Ooh, a love element. I actually put together a hand in this thing that was Invasion of the Cheerleader Babes. So, like I said, not all sci-fi. Okay, well, you could have Radioactive Shark as your movie. But what you do is you lay these things down and the other players vote on them. And popcorn is then distributed according to the strength of the yes votes or the no votes. And whoever has the most popcorn points at the end wins. But the popcorn isn't a straightforward, it's like, and you also get points for the cards. So you could put together a title that has 2 cards or 4 cards if you really want to string it together. But if you go too far, people may not vote yes for it. But the popcorn here is not straight 1 popcorn equals 1 point. And this was a problem some of us had. There are actually popcorns that have 0 points on them. Popcorn, 0. So, yeah. Some of the popcorns, though, have a lot of points on them. There's still, you draw the popcorn at random, and it's all turned over in the box, which, the box where the popcorn is kept, the bottom of the box, popcorn. And that's the back of the videotape. It is fun. We just laughed our heads off at the crazy, silly, insanely stupid things we were coming up with. And I mean, it doesn't really, this is one of those games where it truly does not matter who wins or loses, because it's just, the gameplay is just hilarious. But you need a minimum of 3 people. It is, in essence, a party game. I really think it's very much a more the merrier kind of thing. Let me see if it says how many players. 3 to 6. So, yeah, 3 to 6 players. And it's fun with 3. But I think that it would be even more fun with more players. Let me scoop my chair up here. And now we get on to this. This would have been a good Halloween game. But I think you can play that any time of the year because they're not all like spooky, creepy stuff. It's like sci-fi and, and monsters and aliens and cheesy love interest and all kinds of things. Basically, any element that would fit into a cheesy B movie. So this could be played year round. And that is B movies. Dun, 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 dun. Now we get to the real seasonal stuff. This weekend, we played a couple of very seasonal, thematic kind of games. Indian Summer. Yeah. Did I just knock something off the table? Yeah. I always have to drop something in every video. Have you noticed that? Well, maybe not every, but almost. Okay. These are 2 games we played this weekend. We also played Carcassonne. I will get to that in a minute. Oh, peekaboo. Anyhow, Indian Summer is a game by Uwe Rosenberg. It is one of a trilogy of small polyomino games that he did. This isn't part of, Patchwork isn't part of that, though you will see certain similarities to Patchwork. But it is polyomino tile laying on a little grid thingy, and it is just beautiful. You've got little animal tiles, and you're supposed to be walking the forest, picking up treasures, and the treasures come in the form of blueberries and mushrooms and feathers. Let's see, here's a feather. And there's the flip side of the feather. And, yeah, blueberries. And the flip side of the blueberries. And shrooms. Ah, I flipped the shroom across the table. Shrooms and shrooms. And oh yes, and let's not forget the all-important acorns. The acorns are stored in a different bag with the squirrels. We'll get to the squirrels in a minute. So you pick up treasures, and the treasures can be traded in for each other and for points and for actions and things like that. And you place your polyominoes, and these polyominoes have holes in them. See? Hole, hole, hole. And as you place them on your table, the board thingy that you're doing, well, turn it sideways again. My dog noticed that I turned the board sideways, I swear. Anyhow, if you place these things so that one of the treasures is showing, then you put one of the treasure tokens over it. And when you finish one of these little sections here, then you can pick up all your treasures. And if you make a pattern that matches with one of these special animal tiles that are laid out in the center, then you can lay that over it and collect again. And I mentioned acorns. Yeah, acorns are also one of the little treasures you can pick up. Here are the acorns. But the squirrels, you remember how hard it is to get those one square patches in patchwork? Well, we got squirrels, and they've got all different little poses of the squirrels for your one patch thing. It's a lot easier to get those. Squirrels are free, but you can also pay for the squirrels. And let me tell you, you really shouldn't go for the free squirrels. Don't. I mean, not unless you have to. Because there are actions and there are special actions in this game. And placing a squirrel for free is a regular action. And that would be the only thing that you could do aside from special actions. Whereas these tiles here, the tiles come in different beautiful leaf colors. This is red, yellow, and green. But these aren't just pretty colors and interesting, hard to fit in shapes. The colors represent how many squares are going to be covered. 1, 2, 3. All of the green tiles, no matter what shape they are, they're only going to cover 3 on your board. And that may be what you need. The yellow tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4. The yellow tiles will cover 4 spaces. The red tiles all cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So, this game is a race. The whole idea is to fill your board first, at which point game ends and you score. And it's always a close game. Always a close game. And you score, so consequently, these are very valuable. You can sometimes steal your opponent's pieces. So there is a little bit of that can go on. But you can only steal the piece that's next to the backpack. So their piece in their little stash there might not actually be what you need. So we haven't actually done that very often. But since the whole idea is to fill it up quickly, it would be much better to put down a red 5 tile than a 1-piece squirrel tile, particularly since you can pay 1 acorn and put down a squirrel as a special action. So you should really go for the special action squirrels rather than the free squirrels, because, I mean, put down a tile that can get you 3, 4, or 5 spaces covered for your turn, or put down just 1 tile. But having the free pay for a squirrel thing does come in handy, particularly toward the end, because you're gathering resources. You can pay berries to refill your supply of tiles more quickly. And you can pay mushrooms, I think it is, to steal a tile. You can pay a feather to place 2 tiles on 1 turn. You can pay an acorn to place a squirrel. So there's different stuff that you can do with the little treasures that you're collecting. And some of the animal tokens that you put down will also have treasures that are associated with the ones that are larger, more complicated shapes. It is a fun game. It plays very, very quickly. In fact, I would say that probably the setup for this is one of those games where the setup is probably not quite proportional to gameplay, because you've got to put that big ring of tiles around, which is the whole Uwe Rosenberg thing with his polyomino games. This is one of 3 polyomino games that is part of a trilogy. The other 2 are Cottage Garden, which I play on the app all the time. It hits the table a little less often, and I'm not sure why that is, except maybe I just play it on the app all the time because, again, you got to do the setup thing, and on the app there's no setup. The other one is Spring Meadow, which I don't like as well. It also has the holes in it, and you're moving things up, and I don't know, the game mechanic doesn't click with me as much, and because the meadow is not, when you think spring meadow, you're thinking like green and blooming flowers, but actually it looks snow covered. Most of it looks snow covered. You've got, you know, a bit of green, so it's just starting to thaw in the spring. And I think that not looking as attractive as Cottage Garden and Indian Summer, and let's face it, Indian Summer is possibly the prettiest game in my collection. It is just beautiful. And when you fill out that board, breathtaking. The other seasonal game we played this weekend is Bosk. This is one of the games that was on our unplayed game shelf at the beginning of the year that we played for the first time a couple of months ago. We've gotten, I think, 4 plays in now. And I'm putting up some pictures and inserts to show you what it looks like. It comes, I've got to show you these. I've got to show you the inside of this thing here because it comes with, because board gamers love them some good inserts, don't you? I know you do. Look at this. It comes with these little boxes. You know how in Savannah Park you put together little boxes? Well, this doesn't have lids on the boxes like that does, but you fold together these little boxes with the leaf pattern all around them. Isn't that beautiful? And the player colors for this, very autumnal. Yellow, orange, that's orange, red, and purple. And they all have different leaf shapes. Red looks like it's a red Canadian maple there. And I think orange may be oak. Not sure. Well, no, maybe that's yellow. But you have different leaf shapes and colors. You've got beautiful little leaf components here. Wooden, lovely. And you have these larger cardboard numbered pieces which determine leaf fall. And this is the whole thing. You're laying out, you're putting out, first you put out your trees, then you score your trees. So put out the trees in spring, score the trees, that's summer. Then you do the leaf fall where you are dropping your leaves according to the wind direction. Whoever won round 2 where you score, they get to determine where the wind board goes, which does not determine a uniform direction of wind. The wind numbers point different ways as you go down the board for the rows. You may have noticed there are different colored sections on the board. And so the final phase, whereas in the first phase you're scoring your trees going down rows, like down rows here and down rows there. So you're scoring that. And then on the in the last scoring phase, the 4th part, you're scoring by region. So you're laying out those leaf tiles according to what you decide. Oh, and they've got adorable squirrel meeples in this. Instead of laying leaves, you can put a squirrel on top of a pile of leaves and nobody can cover that and take that. So you can manage to get your majority in some area where it might have been possibly covered up in by your opponent. It's because you can cover other people's leaves. And you score by region. How many leaves are in each region, whoever has the majority. One of the things I don't like about this game, and I have to say there's a lot of stuff I don't like about this game. My husband is a little more forgiving, but this game just strikes me as kind of tedious and fiddly and annoying. But the components are wonderful, and it has a breathtaking table presence. So I think it would be really hard to cull this just simply because it's so pretty. And being a seasonal game, it's not going to hit the table all that often anyway, because it's fall, you know. But what was I going to say about the leaf things? You have to consult a table in the game book. Like when you're scoring your leaves in the 2nd round of the game, which is summer, you have to look at the table and see who has the most highest number, because the trees are numbered, in each row, what the numbers add up to, and whoever has the most, then they get a certain points according to the chart in the book, and then whoever has second most gets the second most points according to the chart in the book. And if you are third or fourth, you're just out of luck. So, yeah, you have to, like, you lay out your trees, and then you go around, you score your trees, and you look at the chart in the book to see how badly or well you did. And then first player token moves back and forth. It's just, And then when you do the leaf thing, it's the same thing. Only get this, it's not the same scoring as the first round. You know, the first round, you get so many points for first, so many points for second, so many points for a tie. Third and fourth get nothing. Well, when you're doing the final scoring with the leaves in the regions, it's a different chart. So you go back to the book and you pull out the chart and you see how many points for first and how many points for second and how many points for a tie, and third and fourth get nothing. And I don't know, the game mechanisms just feel very janky to me, and gameplay doesn't feel very smooth. And the fact that you have a chart in the book to determine scoring, not one chart, but two charts in the book to determine scoring at two different points during the game, that's just kind of annoying. I just kind of feel like, oh, gee, why? You know, because there's other ways you could have done that. And I don't know. I'm not a game designer. Maybe other ways you could have done that would have broken the game. But it's a beautiful game, and we're probably going to keep it around at least for another year and play it next fall and make a decision about it. It's just because it's just so pretty. But I have to say, gameplay is just not terribly satisfying. You just lay things out and you look at the book and see how well you did, and you lay more things out and you look at the book and you see how well you did, and you add it all up and you move around the little score track, and that's it. And I mean, there is some strategy involved. You're trying to figure out the best placement of your tree. You're trying to figure out how many leaves to put out for each leaf direction based on the placement of your trees, and how to get the most in a particular area. I mean, it is strategic, but it's just really unsatisfyingly strategic. We have other area control, area majority games that we love. So, I mean, it's not really scratching that itch particularly. So I am really just not sure about that. And let me consult my handy dandy notes. Yes, that's right. We are at that point in the video where I consult the handy dandy notes to see what I have missed. Okay, here's what I was forgetting. Carcassonne. For those Carcassonne fiends and fans out there, we basically bought a bunch of expansions. We had the big box, and we have a few other expansions that weren't in the big box, and we just decided to just get the rest of them because there was a bunch that we didn't have. So we've been doing a few of those, like every now and then we'll throw in an expansion to Carcassonne and play it and see how it plays. This weekend, we added in, and we played it with the river also, we usually do. We added in the Abbey and Mayor expansion. And I want to especially emphasize the Abbey and Mayor expansion. This is a good one. This is a really good one. If you play Carcassonne and you really like it and you're thinking about getting expansions, or you have some expansions and you're like, I don't know, I like this and I don't like that, you should get this one. And here's why. Admittedly, I have not yet played all of them, though we're getting close. And we have played everything that's in the big box. This may be the most useful Carcassonne expansion yet. The Abbey, there's a special Abbey tile, and back. Had to run and get the Abbey tile. I realized I didn't actually have it on the table. There's a special Abbey tile. Each player gets one of these. And the Abbey tile plugs holes in the board. You know, sometimes you end up with a hole. And sometimes you end up in a position, possibly because your opponent got you into that position, where you can't really complete a feature because it's like the tile that you would need to put there does not exist, because it's like that area has become totally messed up. The Abbey not only plugs holes, it completes features. You got a town that abuts this side of the abbey, town is done. You got a road that dead ends into there, road is done. You got a monastery that's just not ever going to get completed because of the whole mess with the towns and the roads over here, done. So, like I said, very useful. In addition to the abbey tiles, there are a dozen land tiles that come with this. Some are fairly ordinary looking, but some have these nifty little bridges. Also, another monastery there. Really interesting road, which I got. This road, this is not an intersection that ends roads. The road continues in all directions. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be played. So that's real interesting. Oh yeah, and there's one where, oh yeah, this is real interesting too. You have a tunnel that goes under and through a city. So there are some interesting land tiles in addition to the usual land tiles. The abbey tile is really great, and you have 3 special people. You've got a very fat-legged meeple, which is oversized, and that is the mayor. The mayor gets more points. He gets extra strength, as they call it, from shields in the cities. And he comes in really handy if you are contesting a city with someone, a city with shields in it, because this guy can shift the balance. You have got barns. Barns are placed at the intersection of 4 tiles where there's just fields in that intersection where the 4 tiles come together. And barns can allow you to score a field immediately rather than waiting until the end of the game. And wagons. A wagon can be placed like any other meeple. It can be placed anywhere, cities, roads. But the thing is, when the feature that the wagon is marking is completed, the wagon can move to any incomplete adjacent feature, and not just orthogonally adjacent, but also diagonally as well. So if you put the wagon on a road and you complete the road, and there's a little tiny city nobody's yet claimed that's adjacent to it, you can just hop it over to the city, and now that city is occupied when the road is completed. So this is also very useful. A tile that can be moved to another a meeple that can be moved to another incomplete feature once the feature it's marking is complete. Something that allows you to score fields immediately. Something that can give you extra heft in cities with shields that you are contesting with other people. And tiles that can plug inconvenient holes and complete features that are up against that hole. And sometimes if it looks like you're getting into kind of a sticky situation and you just don't know what the odds are, I mean, you're just thinking the odds of you drawing the specific tile you need are kind of low, you can make a hole. You know, I mean, if you've got, you can just basically, you know, go ahead and run a road across the bottom of that thing, and I'll then make a hole where you can drop your tile in and complete the feature. Of course, now something you need to keep in mind is you may end up completing your opponent's features too, if they're also operating in that area. But like I said, Abbey and Mayor, I mean, there are a lot of nifty stuff in the various expansions, but this is like super useful and practical. And admittedly, a lot of these things are aimed towards special situations. You know, you may not have inconvenient holes that with features that need to be completed in every game, or you may not necessarily want to score your fields early, or have contested cities with shields, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like this, where when the feature is complete, you move it to another incomplete feature next to it and just keep on going and claim that. I don't know, they're kind of special situations, but I don't see any harm in rolling this into Carcassonne anytime you play. Because, I mean, situations occur and you're thinking like, yeah, I want to deploy my fat meeple. Or, yes, Yes, please. There's a lot of stuff that's not complete in that area. I'll just drop that wagon on there. I'll complete that feature, and then I'll just go on to the next one, or the field, or you never know when you're going to need to complete something and you're not sure if you're going to get the right tile you need for it. Make a hole, fill a hole. So we were both very impressed with this expansion. It is, like I said, it's very practical in many ways. I mean, a lot of them have neat things and extra stuff you can score, but this just seems to like give you options in awkward situations that occur in regular games with the regular game tiles. So I think that this is a very good expansion for you to have in your Carcassonne expansion toolbox. But otherwise, gameplay is mostly unchanged. Things are laid down the way they are. There's not it's not very fiddly, not a whole ton of special rules about how you do these things. And I think I have covered everything. It has been really great sharing a mug of tea with you and chatting about games. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Let's hang out again. I'll see you next time round the table. And don't forget to participate in the community tab. I'll be looking for you there. Bye.